everybody, it's Cheyenne with Wisewood Apothecary. Thanks so much for joining me here again. We are focusing on lamb's quarters as the herb of the month for August. There is a little bit of variation in how its Latin name is pronounced. So some people call it Chenopodium and some people call it Chenopodium. Either way, Chenopodium album is its Latin name. It is considered to be quite a weedy plant. A lot of people, especially if you're a gardener, already have experience with it in some ways. It loves to frequent garden spaces, especially freshly established garden beds and plant pots. So yeah, a lot of people find it quite annoying, but actually I really much so appreciate it. It's one of my favorite greens to eat around. So we are looking at lamb's quarters here. Now it has many nicknames. A lot of people in Calgary call it pigweed or goosefoot. Goosefoot is for good reason, and that is because the leaves of the plant, first of all, the leaves on the plant grow quite varied. So near the base of the plant, they're going to be quite large, and they look like goose footprints, which is exactly where that name comes from, goosefoot. As we grow up the plant a little bit, the leaves change shape a little bit here. So this one is a little bit more simple shaped. And then even as we go up even higher, they become just lance-shaped leaves. So there's a lot of variation in just the leaves alone on lamb's quarters. So it is definitely, something to know about. But its name, goosefoot, comes from the fact that the lower, larger leaves look like goose footprints. So I find that is a very apt nickname for it. But yeah, I usually know it as lamb's quarters. There are lots and lots of recipes around for it, including like edible and medicinal recipes. So definitely lots to work with. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite greens. So I love it. It has like a spinachy, a little bit of a lemony taste to it. The leaves are definitely better eaten fresh in the springtime when they are small and young. They are easier on the stomach that way as well. Later in the year, the leaves are still technically edible, but they have a lot more oxalic acid and things like that in it, where it can be quite upsetting to the stomach if you eat too much all at once, fresh. So if you want to avoid that later in the season, what you can do is just harvest the leaves, chop them up small, and cook them. You can cook them as a regular pot herb. So anything that you would use spinach in, so lasagna, just fried up with some garlic and butter, any recipe that you would use the greens for, you could use lamb's quarters, so as a pot herb. Medicinally, it has some benefits as well. So some of the known benefits of it are that it helps a bit with rheumatism and also mild constipation and things like that. So it does help move things along. Oh, my cat's coming to say hi here. Disappearing off into the woods again. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to use lamb's quarters. Some of my favorite ways, I did mention this in one of the paid members' posts online on the website, that I absolutely adored one of my regular plant walk clients. We had a community potluck a year or two ago, maybe about 2 years ago, and she brought deviled eggs with lamb's quarter leaves pressed in the top, and they were the best. So that's my favorite edible recipe I've ever eaten. And yeah, it wasn't even something that I cooked, so that's pretty impressive. So yeah, it was quite tasty. I definitely ate more than my fair share, and I don't think my husband appreciated sleeping next to me that night. But anyways, so yeah, it does grow quite prolifically. All of these little bits up here that kind of look like a little bit like broccoli, which, by the way, they can be used as a broccoli substitute. These little bits are the flowers and are soon to be the seeds. So one plant produces about 80,000 seeds. So you are good to go in terms of seeds. They also spread by roots. So even leaving a bit of the root in the ground, if you don't necessarily want to spread it around, then it will just kind of come back the next year from where it was. It is something that can be grown in pots. This year I'm going to try overwintering it. So we'll see how that goes. I'll try and plant some soonish and see if I can bring it indoors and if it keeps growing. If you have any experience with that, let me know and give me some pointers, but otherwise I will give you some pointers once I have gone through the trial and error of it. But yeah, I want to see if I can overwinter it and have some of these awesome fresh greens even in the winter, in harsh Calgary winters. I find that would be pretty fantastic. Now, what's very interesting about lamb's quarters that I love, there's two factors. So one is that the leaves have a high amount of silica in it. And what's good about that is that silica is really good for strengthening bones and repairing bones. So for someone who has a bone break, for example, getting on a little bit more of an elevated diet of lamb's quarters leaves can help to drive silica to the broken bone area. Of course, it's best to cook it or maybe even have it in tea form so that it's not so hard on the stomach eating it fresh, unless it's a young plant. Another cool thing about it is that in nature, there's not a lot of sources of food that contain all the essential amino acids. And one of the examples are eggs, chicken eggs. They have the whole amino acid profile, and also quinoa. Now, what's very interesting about lamb's quarters is that it is a close cousin to quinoa, so it has a lot of the same nutritional benefits. It was regularly grown as a crop for both people and animals as a grain crop. So it is effective at what it does. So with the seeds and the leaves together, then you would be getting the whole essential amino acid profile. So that is something to consider, especially in a survival situation where that might be hard to come by. Now, the little flowers on here will soon develop into seeds, and those seeds can be harvested and either sprouted for fresh greens. Make sure you're using sterile equipment so that you're not breeding botulism, which would be terrible and can be deadly. And they can also be harvested, dried, and powdered and used as a flour. That flour can be used on its own. It's a little bit dense, but not as dense as a bark flour that you might get. And also, it can be combined with another flour, like wheat, for example, just to kind of lighten it up a little bit and make it a lot more palatable in a bun or a campfire bread or something like that. Now, I like to just eat them fresh. I actually really love them. They taste exactly like broccoli. So good. Tastes exactly like broccoli. Definitely might get it stuck in your teeth like broccoli, so make sure you either have a mirror or someone to look that over for you, because it's happened to me on plant walks where I've eaten it to show everybody, and then I keep talking and I get in my car after. I'm like, that was a good plant walk, and then I kind of look in the mirror and I see all of it in my teeth, and I'm like, wow, no one told me. So watch out for that. That still happens, especially if you have braces or anything. Yeah, so anyways, lots of good uses for lamb's quarters. It is very widely available. It is very easy to grow, and it is also easy to get rid of if you don't want it around. So in its flower stage, when it's like this, if I didn't want it in my yard, I would be snapping off all the pieces at the base of the plant, and I would, right down here, just snap it off. And I would be using as much of the leaves as I could and as many of the flowers, whatever is available, I would use it as food and medicine and things like that instead of just getting rid of it. Or if you really don't want to use it for food or medicine, or you're nervous or something like that, then at least compost it so that it can be returned to the earth in some way or another. It will eventually run out of steam if you keep harvesting it like that. So that's how I'd recommend getting it out of your area. I'd never recommend chemical warfare on any plants. It does not work out in your favor, especially for very long. It's super expensive and it pollutes the groundwater supply, thus our water supply, thus plants and our food water supply. It's just not good news bears. So we definitely need to consider that kind of going forward. Anyways, let me know if you have any questions or comments or maybe tips on how to grow it indoors. I'm going to give that a go. You can leave a comment below, or you can get a hold of me by email or private message. Definitely subscribe here on YouTube to be the first to know when our new videos come out. But also you can search us at on Facebook at the Herb of the Month Club, and that is our free group there. And if you are interested in supporting us kind of financially, then you can go on our website at wisewoodapothecary.com and click on the Herb of the Month Club link and purchase a paid for membership. They are sliding scale kind of pay what you can memberships with lots of extra perks, and like a private question answer session with me on Zoom and all sorts of things like that, just for paid members as a group. So yeah, lots to consider. Definitely stay in the loop, and thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.